Alright, before I start, I thought I should talk a little bit about my creative piece. This Capstone creative component is by far the most stressful thing I've done this entire year. Everything else in comparison was easy peasy. The biggest problem that I've had was choosing one thing and just go with it. At the beginning of the year, I was thinking that Capstone would be simple. I knew my career, I knew I was going to college, I'd have Capstone creative piece finished by winter break, and my monologue would be finished soon after. It would be simple, but things didn't exactly work out as well as I thought they would. When I entered this year, I was going to be a video game designer. I had a bit of a planning of a game that I was going to design. Right. I designed right here. There. But the problem is, I hate designing video games. So then I had to get thinking, what should I do? That idea came to me then and there. I'll build a pyramid. Just like we talked about in Capstone. So the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it's kind of come apart. The first layer of Maslow's hierarchy, survival. You have to survive if you want to live, so that's at the bottom. I live in a good house. There's a subway right down the street from my house, so I have food. And I have a place to sleep. So I will survive. The second layer is safety. You gotta be safe if you want to be an artist. Easy. I have good friends. I live in a nice neighborhood, and I don't try to meet people through MySpace. So I'm safe. Third stage, stage of social belonging. I have a feeling that if I went anywhere apart from Acme, I would still be working on this stage. And as I just said, I have good friends. And so if anywhere I can feel safe, feel belonging here. But wait, I'm leaving here. Graduating. I'm leaving here. So maybe this wasn't a great idea. Then I had a stroke of brilliance. I would build a timeline of my life. Timeline. It's on the sticky notes. Well, and at certain points, I would have an art piece. Multiple pieces, but all part of one thing. But I didn't like it. After I built the timeline and planned the art, I still didn't like it. Capstone is supposed to be about my future. This timeline is about my past. This timeline, I'm not going to use. After that, still, I had the perfect idea. As I do my monologue, I should show an art piece every now and then. This should be an art piece by itself, but by putting the pieces together like a puzzle, it will become one bigger piece. So all of you puzzle goers out there, they can try to put together yourself. You see, it's a game, and I like games. When I was growing up, that's not where I'm at. When I was growing up, my life was actually quite different from how it is now. Oh, I didn't really have any video games at all because my mom didn't believe in them. So I would play outside or play board games like any other 4-year-old would do. Even though I didn't play video games, games were still a big part of me. I was a member of our grade school chess club. And when I was in 3rd grade, I was playing 4th graders. I have to brag about that a bit. Plus, I was in a tournament. I think I did pretty well. My 8-year-old self could probably kick my butt now. But I may not be as good of a player as I was 9 or 10 years ago. And I practically haven't played since elementary school because it's hard for me to find opponents. But if it wasn't for chess, I would see the world in a completely different way. Okay, chess taught me to think things through, to not make reckless choices. Strategy. In games now, I'm a very strategic player. I find your weakness and I run with it. For example, let's take my experiences with the snipers in Halo. They run away and hide, right? And they think they're in complete control. But if you can find them, sneak up on them from behind. You are in control, because they are generally weaker in close combat situations. You see? Strategy! In as early as 4th grade, I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. That year, I knew I was going to be a video game designer. It all started with a game that me and my friends had. You know it. I know it. Pokemon. We all had some of the first Pokemon games before the Game Boy Color. And what we would do is we just talk about the game at recess or after school. And I noticed some patterns in what we liked and what we didn't like. So what I would do in my mind is I would rebuild the game. Parts that we liked, I'd put more of in. And parts that we didn't like, I would take out. Then I would start playing with the storyline a bit. I just kept on toying with the game until it became a completely different game entirely. One that I made. Me and me alone. After that, I started designing games from scratch. Getting my own storyline. Getting my own characters. Everything was something that I made. I would simply use my journal, which I would pull out, but I forgot it, to write down everything that would happen in this game of mine. Everything that would happen from the storyline and the characters to the controls and the cheat codes. Because you always have to have cheat codes. And when it started, all my friends thought it was cool and unique. Video game designer? No one has ever done that before. It was nice being different like that. My mom always told me different, but she would just say that in response to, "But Mom, everyone else has a PlayStation, why can't I get one? Haven't you ever wanted to be different? But no one else is different." And as I said before, this career was new and unique to me and my friends. So I got a shock when I came here to ACMA in 8th grade. I thought it was unique and one of a kind. Now this is rare as an Articuno card from the Fossil set, which I got 3 of in 1 week. Not that rare. So at first I was kind of taken aback. These kids stole my career. And for a while I didn't talk to any of them. They were the enemy. But as I continued my designing, I learned there's no way I can do this alone. And I began to understand the whole concept of a design team. So that's what we did. We formed a team. I started hanging out with Tim and Daniel. We were the 3 game designers that I knew that year. Hey, one for each Articuno. We didn't design that many games at all that year. More just thought about them a bit. The next year, I made a big jump in the direction of my goal. I started to program my games. Each of us had our strengths in designing. I specialized in the story. Tim was best at the visuals and the drawings. And Daniel knew the most about coding. But I would help with the coding because I wanted to learn and I wasn't that bad at it. It was all fun. But things didn't exactly stay as happy and cheerful as they were. In my first year of high school, I was designing games all the way through. There's a slight problem. That was the year I took up writing and photography. I was there. And I learned I really loved doing those. Sure, I've always been into writing, making up stories and stuff like that. But I didn't actually like the pen to paper part. In 5th grade, I hated that so much, I burst into tears during class when we had to do it. But I fell in love with these art forms. And I think I loved these 2 art forms more than designing games. Sophomore year was the year I joined Metamorphosis. Once I did that, I learned I love acting. About 5 years ago, if you told me to go on stage in front of a few people and told me to do one thing, I'd run the other way and cry under a table. Trust me, I've done it before. But now I love it. It's amazing. I can't think of anything more fun than acting. Audience, good. Crying under a table, bad. So now I thought of changing my career. Should I become an author, photographer, actor, or stick with what I've been doing for the past 5 years and be a video game designer? So I gave designing one last chance. I sat down on the computer and said, game design, I'm giving you one last chance. Hence, I shall open the game I have not been able to finish for months, and if I don't like it, I'll quit. But forget video games, I'll act! I completely lost where this was. So there went into the code, looking for the little bit that I want. And I found my mistake. I don't see how I missed it. The code simply said, blah, 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 and if blah, 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 if blah, blah, does this, blah. But what it should have said is blah, 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 if blah, blah, blah is equal to blah. How could I miss that? Okay, just messing with you. Yeah. Basically, I named something wrong. And in code, that kills the entire thing. If you're a coder, you know what I'm talking about. That time I remembered why I liked doing this. Finding and solving the problem. Not just looking after line after line after line of code. It was fun. I was back. I knew I was good at design games, and we gotta get going. I pulled my small group of designers and said, we gotta program this game. And it was going great for about a month. But our schedules were so conflicting that we never had any time to work on the game. But mostly, as the director, I could not see it. Most of the games I design, I have exact picture of what I want it to look like. And I won't stop until it reaches that point. With this game, I just kind of wanted to be there. So about a month into it, we kind of stopped. I had no vision. My schedule got busy with homework. One of the designers went on to program other games of his. And the other one kind of stopped caring because we both stopped. He had nothing to do. But I still pretended. Capstone. Oh, this is going to be easy. I had my artistic component planned. My monologue would be finished shortly afterwards. It would be great. But by October, I had an epiphany. An epiphany that put the pieces together. I am at a completely different part of my monologue. And after that, I haven't programmed anything. Not one bit of code passed through my head for at least one full year. I still pretended to be a video game designer. I just told myself I was being a little lazy that year. And this was the year I started my college search. I was looking into colleges that had specialized game design courses, such as programming, stuff like that. But I didn't want to send off the application. I was scared. But I wasn't scared that I was going to get rejected. I was scared I was going to get in. But I still pretended. Capstone, this is going to be easy. I had my component planned. My monologue would finish shortly afterwards. It'll be great. But by October, I had an epiphany. An epiphany that put the pieces together. Before, they're just scattered pieces of... Before, they were just pieces of a scattered puzzle. But then I saw my career as a video game designer wasn't for me. My hopes of doing that were gone. Put the broken pieces of a puzzle together to see a broken picture. I didn't want to see it. Something isn't right. So I tried to prove it wrong. I sat down on my computer. We're ready to fight the final boss. Program opens.
Coding you shall do.
No! I didn't want to do it. Didn't want to think of it. Didn't want to code it at all. All right. I'll write the story. I'll just... crap. I'll write the story. Get the ideas of the game together, and have those be moved on to the next person who would program and create it. I pulled out a piece of paper and thought, level 1.
You shall write.
No! I didn't want to do that either. It was horrible. Then the little fairy that's always in video games said, don't worry, it's fine. That's what Capstone's all about. It's normal not to know. But I can't stand it. I need to know where I'm going. Because I didn't know where I was going. I kept on thinking of that instead of what I should be doing. Then all this stuff started to pile up. And until it all backfired and attacked me. I didn't expect the final boss to get some minions. I felt like I needed a career. Even if I didn't even go for it anymore. I needed to have something in mind. Plus, I couldn't stop thinking about designing. Everywhere I looked, I kept on thinking of design of games. And it's a lot easier to turn things into games when you don't want to do it. Alright, I'll find a new way of attacking him. I decided to start with my hobbies. Photo.
Very well then.
Spend hours in the dark room developing film and stuff like that. He has a point. I really don't like developing film. And I would love to just take photos for the fun of it. But you can't really make a lot of money as a guy selling exposed film. Plus, I wouldn't want to do that, for then I would lose it. Everyone isn't really willing to give up their art to someone because they don't know what it means, or that the artist would lose it. I'm fine with that, though. I don't care if someone doesn't see what I see in it. Probably no one ever will. But I'm okay with giving mine away because I still have it. I still have the negatives or a digital copy. I could just print off another whenever I like. I can't lose my negatives. I still have all of them. This is every negative I've ever taken on film. For the past 4 years, they're all there. Except one role, which I lost shortly after I developed it, and that was my favorite role, so I can't miss that role. But anyway, I got a secret weapon. Digital photo. So it would use some of my computer knowledge, so not all my gaming would be worthless.
But can you succeed as a photographer?
First, where am I? I've been having doubts like that for a while now. Okay, I'll ask the fairy. I can see you not as a fairy. I can see you as a photographer. Yeah, well, you used to try calling me a fairy, so just add to confusion. Go away. All right, leaving photo behind, and I just had to move on to the next hobby. They always said that the pen is mightier than the sword. So I took my sword and threw it aside. Not a good idea in video games. Games. And I pulled out my pen. And Mwahaha! You shall write 1,000 words to defeat me. 1,000? Easy. So I got my pen at the ready. But before I said anything, my pen changed into a piece of wood. No! Writer's block! Fine then. I'll have to overcome the writer's block, for I have a special bonus of power. Haiku. To you, final boss, I send to you your defeat. Eat my words, demon. Ha! 14 words in your face. Random fairy guy. How many more do I need? 986. Oh. That's a bit more than I was planning. How many more haikus would that take? About 70-ish. Oh. That's a bit more than I was hoping for. All right, looks like I should do this the old-fashioned way. I shall pull out a piece of paper and write even with the writer's block. So pull out a piece of paper, and I see white. Nothing but a blank white sheet of paper. No words came out of my pen, but instead these little doodles came out. Maybe doodles are his weakness. I eat doodles for afternoon snack about 3:45 p.m. Oh. I just keep trying a bit more. So I was doing this for a while. And all I came out with silly doodles. And I now have tons of papers where I tried to write and just got doodles. I have about that big of doodles. And then after a while, I got a doodle block. When you get random doodle block and you're drawing the exact same little picture over and over and over again, that's kind of a good sign to move on to the next attack. Next would be graphic design. Again, this is a career where not all my gaming would be worthless. All of my hobbies have helped with it so far. And I have had some good experience with Photoshop, and I'm not horrible at the other Adobe programs. Plus, just for fun, I've been making some things for friends. Like they want a poster for the band? I'll look one up in Photoshop.
Mwahaha!
But do you honestly have what it takes to be a designer? He just has to be the voice of doubt, doesn't he? I'm my own worst critic. That's something that's always been holding me back. And it's just going to take some time to get over. But I don't have time. This final boss thing, he gets stronger the more I put him off. I got to move on to the next method. Finally, last on the list would be acting.
Acting? You? You're making this too easy.
In the past, I've feared the stage more than anything. I could not see why people would just be willing to go up in front of hundreds of people and do stuff. It didn't make any sense. Then I was in Metamorphosis. And I could kind of see the appeal. It was fun. And earlier this year, I was in Much Ado About Nothing. And when I stood on that stage and looked out in front of the audience, that's when I fully caught the Harris flu. Dun dun dun. Just about everyone on my mother's side of the family has caught it. The Harris flu is a desire to be on stage. To be up in front of an audience. This disease could be the ultimate weakness of my current enemy.
Harris flu? No!
How did all my family deal with their Harris flu? Just about all my family who have been infected are teachers. And teaching is very much being in front of an audience and acting. Then it hit me. teaching. I teach little things in Photoshop to my friends all the time. I could mix two of my hobbies together to get a career. I could have my uncle mentor me, seeing as he is both a graphic designer and a computer graphics teacher. Sure.
Didn't we go over this? I thought you weren't good enough to be a designer.
You didn't let me finish. Teaching isn't just about designing. It's about sharing what you know. And it was great. But the Harris flu, I got it bad. I needed more. I still like the idea of being in front of an audience I've never met. Playing a different character in each play. Story. Adventures. Play. Games. Shoot. I thought I was out of that.
Who's winning?
I don't know anymore. Barry, who's winning? You're doing fine, Ian. Don't worry. Thank you. I'm winning.
Fine.
I didn't think of anything for a while. But then all of a sudden, I found I was laying on the floor. Didn't mean to fall. It hit me right in the face, sending me backwards. I could do more than one. People do it all the time. Recently in English, I had to write a play. And it was hard. But I was able to get through my writer's block. So I'm going to put this aside. I'm not completely over it, though. But it just goes to show that it's not controlling me. Over spring break, I decided I would have a little pet monster. I would feed it every day, and then one day, I'll take him and turn him into a book. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Spalding Gray or Mrs. Sticking's assignment where his writing in his capstone class is called Monster in a Box, you are probably a little confused right now. This is the box, and inside is the monster. Sure. Every day since March something or other, I would write something and feed it to Denali. I just hold it up and go, in the box. I'll see you again in 5 months or something. I named her after the box, Denali. Just to keep things simple. Denali. Just keep things simple. And some days, I was writing just for the sake of writing. But other days, I know exactly what I was doing. And the thing is, this works. I have passed the block that was on my writer's path for who knows how long. So writing is back in there, and I'm moving on. I only write about a page a day, and that I can do in like 15 minutes. Not that long at all. Now you can just hear the foe withering in the distance. And this is the part where I'm at now. I have learned that I only have a vague idea of for what to do as a career. And I didn't come to realize something, but I did come to realize something. I don't know what I'm going to do as a career, and I don't care. I don't need to have the next 10 years planned out to the decimal like I thought I did. I have no reason to do that. All I need to know is the next few steps. I'm going to college. I'm going to continue feeding Denali, and I'll join a theater production outside of ACMA. I will continue to write, take photos, act, play in Photoshop, as well as find out where I'm going in life.